What up, what up, what up, what up? I'm waiting for people to get up in here. Okay, Roots Fund, we need to talk, okay? We need to email because we need to talk. I'll wait a few more to get in. Joe, give me like 5. All right, so today is super cool. I'm really excited for today because you all know, obviously, me, former former athlete, former pro athlete in the wine industry, but who's like really in the wine industry. I'm for real, like studying, getting certifications, taking my time, reading books, getting the education, and got a lot of respect for that. But my guest today has taken it even miles beyond what I'm doing in the industry. He's former pro basketball player, now full goal winemaker. And I'm talking about Joe Harden. He's the winemaker at Nickel and Nickel. He might be the tallest winemaker in the entire world. He's probably 6'8". I'm gonna give him 6'8". Just I know athletes, people have me at 6 foot. I'm about 6'1". I need all my height. He's from Northern California. He actually went to, I hate to say it, he went to Notre Dame. I'm a BC guy. But he left and he transferred to UC Davis. He ended up majoring in viticulture and enology, which is pretty much the prerequisites to go become a winemaker. And then he went over to Australia, played pro ball over there for a short time, and then decided his passion was in winemaking. So it's super cool. We're gonna taste some about 3 2018 vintages, and so I'm just actually fired up, man, to have this guy join us and talk about his journey, talk about how the sports world and the wine world collided for him, and pretty much why he's doing what he's doing. You know, so it should be real interesting. And the wines they're awesome. They're all Senior Vineyard wine, stuff like that. So what's cool about bringing on somebody like this, like a winemaker, is that they do all the talking. All you wine influencers on here, you wine people, you guys feel me, right? You need to make sure when you are talking about someone's wine, you want to get the facts straight. So you're like, I want to make sure I'm doing this wine justice, talking about the right things. But here's a trick. Just bring on the winemaker. So let's bring on the winemaker. And let's talking. Let that man talk. All right, he should be here any minute. There he is.
Oh,
Yes. I'm doing awesome. How you doing, man?
good, man. Doing good. You have a good
No, no, I'm just fired up, man. So as you guys mentioned, as I mentioned earlier, Joe Harden, former pro player, basketball player, now pro winemaker. That's what you need to put. You need to put pro winemaker. Hold on, I need to go online, update this website. I'm gonna call Aaron and tell her to hook it up. But welcome, man. Thanks for coming on board, man.
dude. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, where are you right now?
I'm at home. I just had a son, so I'm taking the week off. Going to kind of hang out with him, and got through the craziness of harvest, and now trying to take a little time to be with the fam a bit. So I'm at home taking a week off, trying to kind of decompress post harvest.
I bet, man. That's to keep it in basketball terms, you're running. Would you say it's more of like you're the general manager, the head coach, or the point guard?
I think more the point guard for me. I like being in the action. I like being, in the vineyards, in the cellar with the team, kind of full speed ahead. So I like to think of it. I'm on the court with the crew, kind of making sure everyone's moving in the same direction and we're making the best wines possible. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of similarities. You being a football player, harvest is our season, and we're going. And we stay up all day, all night, trying to perfect what we do. And at the end of the day, hopefully we have some success. So there's definitely a lot of similarities.
Very cool. So you're from Northern Cal, right? Where exactly?
Yeah, so I'm from like an hour and a half outside of Napa. I grew up on a vineyard. It's called Lodi, California.
Dude, I love. Damn, I should have brought my. I got a hat in my room because I went to Lodi. I went to Marcus Nigley. He
Yeah,
was at Marcus Barossa, and I went to Lodi, and it's like it's such an interesting town, but that's like the home of Zen.
it is. It is, man. Yeah, it's my family planted roots there. My dad was a football player, OP in Civic, and so when he graduated, he kind of nestled up in Lodi and kind of started the farmer's dream. Planted a vineyard. He's on the sales side of the business, and I just grew up. I grew up on a vineyard with my dad making homemade wine and stuff, and that's kind of what launched it for me.
That's rad. So yeah, talk a little about your basketball career. Like, how'd you end up at Notre Dame?
I had kind of a unique path. I love hoops from day one. I played all sports as a kid. My dad was a football player. My mom was a tennis player. My sister was a collegiate
Oh, so
athlete.
you just got the genetics there already. See, that's cheating right there, bro.
I ran out of town a lot earlier than you did, man. But yeah, I started playing hoops and got on not a lot of notoriety out of Lodi. I actually played in Stockton, my high school.
Okay.
Started playing AAU and got some notoriety and was like the first kid west of the Mississippi to sign with Notre Dame. Coach Bray came out, and it was between there and Stanford, and I wanted to take a leap of faith. I think I saw Rudy one too many times.
By the way, Rudy is the worst football movie of all time.
I'm older, I might agree with that. But yeah, found myself. I was living on a vineyard in Northern California and found myself in the deep winter of South Bend, Indiana. And I love the basketball side of it. It was a little bit of a culture shock, a little too chilly for the soft Northern California kid. So I lasted 1 year and transferred to Davis. I wasn't even thinking about going there, to be honest.
It wasn't on your list before Notre Dame.
No, not at all. And when I transferred, I called my AAU coach and my high school coach and said, "Hey, I think I might leave. Can you put some feelers out?" And I got kind of offers from USC and a lot of WCC schools. And I just went to Davis with my high school best friend who was playing point guard there. And I spent time in Davis, California one weekend. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. I love it here. The town is cool. The basketball, going from the Big East to the Big West was a pretty big drastic change. But like I said, I had a good career there, and I loved every bit of it. And I got to study viticulture and enology, which was kind of like in the back of my mind. Like,
right.
I knew that like there was.
You knew eventually, right?
Yeah, there was a chance. Making it as a basketball player was kind of a long shot, but was still kind of there. And I kind of set myself up for like what was plan B, and I'm so happy I did because like you said earlier. I played a little bit afterwards, but I was pretty burnt out, and I knew that like the NBA wasn't an option. There was a glimmer of hope when I came out of school. It was a year of the lockout.
Yeah,
got some workouts and stuff, but didn't end up getting drafted. Got drafted by the Warriors, the D League, now the G League. Played there. It wasn't great for like my skill set, the D League, and then played in Australia. And then I knew that like I could have kept playing overseas for a long time, and I just knew that wasn't what I want to do. I had this itch to like get back and get full, knee deep in grapes. And so I hung it up, and it was kind of the best thing that's ever happened. It's been a blast, man. Like a lot of people like phase 2 of their career that they kind of lost. And for me, I was like so focused and like so driven to like learn as much as I could about making wine and the production side of it. I'm way more interested in like getting your hands dirty, understanding the vineyard, making wine, and that's kind of where I've kind of laid a foundation. It's been great, man. My wife and I have been in Napa for I think 8 or 9 years now, and building a family, and it's been great. And Nickel and Nickel has been incredible. It's been an experience for me, so I feel really blessed. I do miss.
I didn't mean to cut you off because I wanted to catch something there. Like people are like, man, like why would you? Right now you got an opportunity, you're overseas, but it's like, man, when you're playing pro sports, man, it's like, yeah, the highlight and the end goal, if you can get there, is amazing, but the journey is awful. It's like if you're not super passionate about it, then it's really tough. And I can relate it towards the end of my career, where my family stayed in California and I was playing in Washington, for the football team. at the time it was Redskins, and it was so many political things. It was just so much nonsense, and I was like, look, if I'm gonna live somewhere else and be miserable, like I don't want to do that. If I'm not passionate about it, I don't want to stay there. So it was kind of, let me get back to the roots, get back to my family, and start doing things there, so I can pretty much say, like, is that kind of how you felt when you were out there?
Yeah, no, my girl was a basketball player at Davis too, and he had another year, so I kind of went out for a year and try to do it professionally. And
Yeah, like let me give it a shot.
yeah, and like you said, I just didn't have my full heart in it, and I'm a homebody like by nature. Like
Yeah,
I like my house and my dogs and kicking it. So for me, like living in a foreign country by yourself, and like you said, it's a grind and it's a culture shock, and it was great, and I'm glad I did it. But I
yeah,
was
of course.
happy when I made the next step, because it was like pretty much like a whole new world, like I was a basketball player studying viticulture. And then when I got out of school, I was behind all the kids I went to school with. They had done 10 harvests and were bouncing around and were knee deep in the game. And I was kind of a pretty green, viticulture enology student that didn't have a ton of background in winemaking. And so I really like dug in, and used kind of like the basketball kind of grit and
Of
determination
course.
figured out. So it's been a blast for sure.
So then after that, where was the first place you ended up working where he's like, okay, now you got your degree, you're ready to get your hands dirty. Where'd you start off at?
Yeah, so actually I was still in Australia. I was still playing, and I reached out to a couple people that I knew, and my dad being on the sales side of things, he had a couple connections. And
In Australia?
no, so just back home. And
You didn't get your hands dirty in Yarra? You didn't go to Yarra?
I was out there by myself, like going doing but no, I was out there trying to figure out a job when I got back. So I wanted to go full speed into it. And I got set up with a really cool internship where like most kids out of school like do like 6 or 7 internships and bounce a bunch. And I was planning on doing a couple like that, but I got this really cool, like it was almost like a year-long internship at Robert Mondavi Winery. And they really
there you go.
Yeah, they really set me up. And I really wanted to start there because my dad knew him really well when he was alive. And Margaret and Rob and Davi were big supporters, and actually graduating class at the winery that they helped fund and so I knew I wanted to kind of go to Oakville and learn on Tokelon Vineyard. And so I spent my internship there and was going to leave and take a job up Valley, but they hired me full time. Being the winemaker there for 7 years.
That's wild.
Nickel called. Yeah. So I was going to do a quick stop there, and I hunkered down. There was too much to learn. I didn't want to leave right away. So
no, of course. I mean, why would you? It almost seems like, the internship program was kind of built to hopefully find the next person. So that's really cool. I'm sure you stood out too. You, once again, the tallest dude in Napa right now. And then, so then after that, what led you to your transition to where you are now?
Yeah, so actually, I got a call from my boss at Nickel and Nickel. His name's Andrew DeLoss, and he called me and said, winemaking position at Nickel is open. Heard some stuff about you, and I would love to bring you in and chat with you. And if you don't know Napa, like Nickel and Nickel are like across the street from each other.
Yeah.
I was like, I would love to go check it out, because I always had a lot of respect for Nickel because they take like the single vineyard approach to the next level. I always was really infatuated by that idea because it's really like high stakes, like purist winemaking. There's no blending. You can't add a little Merlot in there if you didn't ferment it right or grow the grapes right. And so I went and met with them, and it was like 6 interviews later, they offered me the head winemaking job. And it's been great. I just finished up my 3rd harvest there. My first vintage are the ones that we're going to taste today, the 2018, which I'm really proud of.
That's wild.
But yeah, Nickel's been cool. It's like I said, it's high stakes. You got one chance at these wines. There's nothing to hide behind, and that's really intriguing. And so yeah, it's been a good ride. We make anywhere from 18 to 20 single vineyard.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah, varying from like a tiny tonnage to like a pretty substantial tonnage.
Yep.
And so it's a pretty cool mix of like super small and like really hands-on stuff. And so that's, for me, has been the beauty of Nickel is that it's really kind of it shows the site. That's what all winemakers always. I'm sure you've had winemakers on here say they want to make a wine that shows a sense of place.
Of course.
And Nickel like really, really, really means that. These vineyards are, like I said, there's no blending, there's no form of that fruit and expression in that area that it's grown, and that's kind of what it's all about, in my opinion.
So here's what we're due. So you've been gracious enough to send me enough wine to last me in December, but there's 3 in particular you want to talk about. So we'll start with the first one, and I think as we go, you can obviously talk about the wine, the thought process, the terroir and all that, and then also we can get into the history of Nickel and Nickel too. So we'll just do that just casually, and I'm sure everyone here is like, get to the damn wine, get to the wine. So I'm like, they're not saying it, but I could feel it. They're like, dude, we are ready to drink. So where are we starting off?
I think, what's cool with Nickel is that, like, when we have people come visit, we can literally take a walk through Napa. We got wines from different AVAs, all encompassing. And so for me, I think let's start in the north, where it's the warmest, and kind of work our way south. Let's start with the Corey Vineyard, which is out of Rutherford.
Okay. Only
like a 3-minute drive from Nickel, but as you taste the next one, they're very different wines. So this is the Corey Vineyard. This is on the east side of the Silverado Trail, as you go from Oakville to Rutherford. It's crazy sloped. And for me, it's like, it's a winemaker's wine. Every winemaker that I've brought to Nickel, they always point at Corey and say, like, that one's interesting. I really like it. And I think I'm curious to see what you think and what you taste. But
based on the flavor profile, or based on the location?
Based on the fruit.
Okay.
Always has, for me, like this really subtle hint of like earthy.
Well, I love Rutherford grapes, though. I think those are
earthy. Has like a little bit of herbalness, which I really like in cab. Kind of has like an old school cab vibe to it.
Yeah.
All naturally fresh because it's grown like severe hillsides. It's kind of a later ripening site, so it gets like a really long hang time. But it's definitely like it's a kind of a winemaker's geek out wine for sure.
No, I definitely immediately on the nose, like finely chopped herbs. I usually get, so my wife got this, I'm not going to say what it is. It's my secret weapon when I make steaks, but it's these finely chopped herbs that I throw on my steaks. And that's exactly what I get. I've been cooking a lot lately.
Yeah. I think that's what, for me, like I like with my team, we like to taste things online and see, like, can we pick out these vineyards? And Corey aromatically always sticks out because it has like
that makes sense.
Savory herbness to it. But I think it's really fresh and it has kind of softer tannin, which I think, what we try to do at Nickel is try and highlight the different nuances of where they're from. Like if I'm making a mountain wine, I want it to have some firmness and some tannins.
Right.
Got Rutherford kind of earthiness, Rutherford dust, so to speak, quality. Oakville is usually like structure and like different tannin. And so kind of like highlight that as we're making these wines. But for me, I think Corey is one of those that, like, we're looking for distinct vineyards and things that are different than the norm.
Of course.
And when you come to Napa next, man, we'll have to go check out some sites because the Corey Vineyard, you got to bring your running shoes, your cleats, man. It's pretty steep, and it's a workout going up there and walking that vineyard and tasting that fruit.
No, very cool. Yeah, so just to explain more to, because I have a blend audience. I have like some savvy wine tasters and people in the industry, but they're also they love wine, but they're still learning about it. So when we talk about like single vineyard, obviously it's kind of self-explanatory, but like, what is a single vineyard for people and why is that important to do that? And kind of, I guess also where's the influence from with that?
Yeah. So kind of the history behind it is Beth and Gil Nickel, who founded Farniente.
Yeah.
In the early 80s, they were really smart because a lot of wineries get success and grow, and then their quality can kind of dip. And you see that a lot. And what they always were good at is they never like really grew anything. They just kind of pivoted and started different projects and different ideas. And so after they kind of got Farniente some success with their Chardonnay and Cabernet, the property in Oakville across from Mondavi became available for purchase. And they said, instead of growing Farniente, let's start something totally different. Let's try this single vineyard approach. And everybody kind of laughed at them. A lot of these big public said, like, consumer won't be able to understand that. That'll probably fail in a couple of years. And then 15, 20 years later, they've had a lot of success and they've sent some trends. So the idea behind Nickel is seeking out incredible, unique sites. and mainly Cabernet. We do make one Chardonnay. But I get calls all the time from growers say, you will, like, you got a space in Napa that you've got a vineyard, and you say, hey, I want Nickel to make a single vineyard wine from that. I would go out there and do all my research, and if it kind of seemed like it was the right quality for Nickel, we would make a single vineyard wine, with Will Blackman's vineyard on it. And that's kind of been the idea, is that we don't blend, they're 100% Cabernet or 100% Chardonnay from that exact site. There's no Merlot blended in. And so we're essentially looking for these really unique, incredible sites where we're just going to make one wine from that year in and year out. And it's high stakes. Some years are better than others, but we really lean on like terroir driven wines, like wines that come from a sense of place, and highlighting that and not throwing into a big blend, essentially.
Yeah. And I think it's also probably easier to manage in terms of, I know you have a different single vineyard, you said 20 different ones, but it's easier to manage because they each have their own profile, as opposed to like you get a lot of cross pollination. It's kind of hard. Like, gosh, you can't really do much with that once you get a bunch of grapes in there blended. So I can see where that could be the benefit.
For sure. And like we, depending on where it's grown, we have a wine for a lot of different consumers, right? We have like that soft, plush, easy drinking wine, because, this vineyard in wherever it's from kind of naturally gives that. Or, we have that big tannic, like big steak wine, because that's where like that's the wine that's resulted from that place. So it's kind of cool to see. Like when I first came to Nickel, I was intrigued by like the degree of sophistication from our consumer. Like some people are like, I will only drink the Quarry Vineyard and I don't want to drink anything else from just Quarry. And then we have some people who are like, I like Nickel wines. I've got a handful that I like.
Right.
I like it in general. And so we kind of have a wide base, but it's a cool place because we can really kind of take a walk through Napa and show like
that's cool
site. So yeah, I think that's kind of sets us apart, is that we kind of take that to like the next degree. And so it's been some years are more challenging than others. 2020 was a unique, interesting year with the fires and stuff. And that's what is kind of what it's all about, is like, how can we make the best wine from each site year in and year out, and not, hide behind a bunch of tools or blending and stuff.
Right. By the way, you guys heard him earlier. Stay tuned for the Will Blackman Nickel and Nickel vintage coming to you live whenever that is. But yeah, actually, let's get into that, because I did something what Napa Valley Vintners in terms of did the open cellar release for all the fires. And so let's talk about that. Like, how, first of all, were you guys affected at all by any means? And how close was it to you guys?
Yeah, we weren't necessarily affected like any of our structures or our vineyards. It got pretty close in some areas. And we really kind of took this year as an opportunity to learn more about it. Some of our early ripening sites are tasting incredible. Some of the later ripening sites, we're trying to test as much as we can and taste and blind taste and
test in terms of like the smoke taint, like that area, is that kind of deal? Okay.
17, the fires came and like everybody pretty much picked. So we had a little bit to learn from, but not a ton. This year, if anyone really tells you that they picked before the fires, they're not necessarily true, because the fires came in like late July and we're here all through August and September. And so
right.
It was a unique, it was really cool to see all my friends and winemaker buddies. We were on the phone every day chatting about, what are you seeing? What are you learning? Analysis are you getting? And it was a really cool collaboration. But there's not a lot that, we're still learning about smoke taint. We don't know a lot about it because we haven't experienced it that much. And so Nickel was incredible. And they said, take as much, money, whatever you need to learn about what this means, make the best wine possible. And if we don't, we'll dump it. And so we're still trying to figure it out. There's some great wines that we've made this year. I'll be the first to say that. And then there's we won't be able to make because of the issues. And so it's been great to have a great company to say, hey, like, dump what you can't use. Like, don't worry about the financial cost of anything. Like, make the best wines possible. And I'm sure that's not the case for a lot of people. So I feel really lucky to kind of roll the dice and learn and figure it out. But we survived, which is all you can do.
No, it is, and I think it's cool. Just the whole brand, just the Farniente family in general. Actually, one of the first Pinot Noirs that I really enjoyed was En Route. I was like, what the? I used to use my Vivino religiously, and I literally was like, "What the hell is this?" Like I kind of like Pinot Noir, and this was awesome. Then I will bathe in late harvest wine. Okay, so Dolce, listen, I am all about late harvest wine. And then yeah, Nickel and Nickel. I actually met Bruce. He came down here to the wine shop, and I got to know him more. And he's funny because he is big on like the essence of winemaking. He's like, we don't none of that adding flavors, none of the blending, none of the chemicals. He goes, we make real ass wine. He was
Bruce's man. He's been with the company for like 25. That was for me when I came over. Like Bruce, my boss, cellar master at Nickel, has been there since the day it opened. Like you can tell like how great a company is by how long people stay there. And yeah, it's been Farniente family has been incredible. And I think we're like within the family of wine, we're all making unique, different. Like you said, I love the En Route Pinot, the Farniente Chardonnay. Like
I haven't had Post Beam yet. That's the only one I have not had yet. So I need to go and get one of those. Whoa, as I do. Listen, so I am a habitual. I'm reckless with tastings. So if you hear, listen. So I did a wine tasting for Capital Group Management, right? And I took my bottle and smashed my glass right there and just wine all over the place, and it was just nuts. But it's all good. I given up touchdowns before, right, and came back and made plays. So all right, where we going next?
Yeah, man.
Take us through the vineyard, bro.
Let's keep out. This is the home turf. This is the Soul Vineyard. This is in the heart of Oakville. This is the vineyard right behind Nickel and Nickel. This is kind of the heart and soul of kind of what started. This is the John Vineyard, and I don't know how familiar I'm sure you get your hands on a lot of Oakville wines, but
yeah,
for me, Oakville always has this like really cool tendency, like across the board, of being like really elegant, asking at the same time. It always has like firmer tannins, a little darker.
This one's spicy.
Yeah, a little bit of spiciness.
By the way, for those who have questions, like just put it in the question box, and I'll review them at the end because I want to get this flowing. I don't want to interrupt. So put questions in the question box, damn it.
And the 18 vintage was, for me, it was like really a great vintage for me to start at Nickel because it was like walk in the park. Like we had a lot of fruit that year, but it seemed to be really balanced. And they made wines that had like good intensity and structure, but also like had this liveliness and freshness.
Right.
So across the board, the 18s for me are like we're starting to release them now, and I'm really excited about them.
Yeah, I definitely get, like I said, a little more bite, a little more. How can I say this? A little more testosterone in this one.
Yeah, a little bit more oomph, a little bit more grip. I think this wine ages really well. Because that's always a balance for us, is like making a wine that's going to age. Because I think older wines for me are like what I like to geek out on, but I know that there's some stat that like most wines are consumed like within 24 hours of purchase. So like trying to find that middle ground of like approachability now, but also like you can see this wine will age, has like freshness, but also has like some firmness.
Very cool. Actually, you know what? A little audible. I want to play a quick game real quick. So really quick, let's go back to the Corey. Which NBA player is Corey?
Oh, I think of Corey as like the people who know the NBA, but like watch a guy and he's underrated. He doesn't have 40 points, but he's doing all the little things in the stat sheet. So I'm a big Warrior, and I say Corey's kind of like Draymond Green, where like if you know, kind of figure out like, oh, that guy's bringing a lot to the table. But if you're kind of a novice, you might like not see kind of some of those nuances that like a wine lover or like a basketball lover can see, that like he might not have an insane stat line, but if he's not out there, you're missing him. So he's kind of one of those quiet assassins. So I think Corey, that's a good question. I think Corey's like that. Sorry for my dog.
No, it's all good. Your dog's trying to say what's up. What's happening? No, that's good, because when you mentioned Corey, you talked about how that's like, if you're a real fan of Nickel and Nickel, man, you're like, this is the one I want. This is the one I appreciate. This is the consistent wine that's always there. So yeah, when Clay is unfortunately gets injured, or he's either scoring 50 points, or you have Steph that's doing his thing, and you talk about the coach, all these things that's going on. But like the constant is Draymond. Even that one time in the finals where Draymond wasn't there,
Yeah, you
what happened?
felt it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so now we're in the Sullinger. Who's John C. Sullinger? First of all, who is John C. Sullinger?
So John C. Sullinger was the if you come to Nickel, like the famous white old Victorian thing was his building from the 1800s. So he
Okay.
he was out there, you know, in the 1800s, and we kind of dedicated like the John Sullinger house in the vineyard.
Okay.
Historical remembrance. But the Sullinger in terms of NBA, I think of him as like the Dennis Rodman, like just you know, you in a year out, like he's gonna go in there and get 20 boards and kind of be consistent year in year out, and people love to have him.
So you're saying this? You said Dennis or David?
David Robinson.
Oh, I think you said Dennis Rodman. That's why I started laughing. I was like, what? I said this wine is unpredictable. I don't know. Okay, the Admiral. There you go.
Yeah, no, David Robinson. Kind of year in and year out, you know what you're going to get from him. Everybody likes him. He just comes in there and gets his job done.
Very cool. No, this one's awesome. I felt like the quarry is more like ready now. I mean, obviously these all have time to age and what have you, but I feel like the quarry is kind of ready now. I feel like Sullinger, I can tell the youth in this wine.
Yeah, I think you're always cannons to develop and mellow out, and Corey right now has like that freshness and brightness, and Sullinger kind of has a little bit more kind of grip. That's why I like for Sullinger, I think that it's a wine that we can lay down for a while. I think it's going to age really gracefully. But yeah, I agree. I think Corey's definitely ready to drink right now. You ready for the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
State Ranch. This one for me was surprised.
It was a surprise, you said?
I was surprised because I don't think of Yountville as kind of big and structured, and for me, like this is like the Texas state steak. It's kind of
this thing is black, dude.
Yeah, it's big. It's really dark fruited. It's got some big muscles.
Yeah, see, this is Napa right here, bro.
Yeah. For me, because Yountville is known for kind of more subtle, a little softer. So when we got this vineyard, it was like, oh wow, this has like some oomph behind it, and it's got some structure. I think people look for that in Napa Cab. They want a little bit of like sexy, muscles, and it's definitely like way darker, a little bit like more blackberry, black cherry. But I think that's definitely a classic kind of representation of like Napa Valley Cab.
Right.
A little bit of cola on there. All the Nickel wines are like 50% new French oak.
Okay.
I don't want the oak to kind of, persuade the fruit to shine.
So how do you get 50%? Is that based on time?
It's based on so each year we keep the previous season neutral barrels, and we buy brand new barrels. So it's all aged in 18% or 18 months of wood, half of which are brand new barrels.
Okay.
We usually sell our barrels after 2 vintages.
Right. Just because a lot of people would, and once again, I'm asking questions for the general public because they're more like, okay, 50% new oak. So is that, 50% like 9 months in old oak and 9 months in new oak, or just?
You fill 20 barrels, 10 of which are brand new, and we'll rack them like once or twice depending on what we're tasting. When it's that kind of naturally like cleans up the wine and clarifies it. So we'll taste and decide like if we need to rack it and clean it up and then bring it back to barrel. But if it's a 20 barrel lot, 10 of which are brand new, and then we'll keep that same 20 barrels for the next year, but we'll bring in another 10 new barrels. So each year we're having about 50% new wood each year. Very
cool. All right.
Like it's pretty cool because these vineyards are all within like a 10-minute drive, but they taste right. They have a totally different fruit profile, structure profile. And that's kind of why I like to show people and taste them on a couple vintages or a couple vineyards, because, maybe if we blend these all together, it'd be great. But we're gonna kind of lean in and enhance what Corey wants to bring. We want to lean in and say Solinger's going to bring some structure, and State Ranch is going to bring some tannin, and we're going to kind of highlight and nuance that. And I think that's kind of the beauty of Nickel is like, you want to taste the vineyard from Yountville. Here it is. You know, this is what our section of Yountville tastes like. You know, if we go farther north, it's really warm in Calistoga. That's going to be really soft, dark, fruited wine because of where it's grown. We're just trying to lean in on, you know, what these sites want to show.
Yeah. So a question here, which actually got answered, but it's a good question from, actually, I know Nicole, she's a CEO at Cleo Awards, but she was like, you know, who buys the old barrels and why other wineries and why, you know, basically.
Yeah. So every year I got some buyers for, because we're trying to be as sustainable as possible. So I got to find buyers for our barrels. And usually like we link with like a gin distillery. They really like.
Oh, okay. Right.
For our Chardonnay barrels, I link with Lockett and Union Distillery in the Bay Area. I'll sell them a bunch of barrels, tequila, whiskey.
Yeah, because they still have to, you know, toast it and get the flavor profile they want for their bourbons and whiskeys, correct?
Yeah, and they're always looking for like neutral storage vessels.
Oh, okay.
So, like my wife worked for a Japanese whiskey, and I used to sell her company's barrels of our.
Wait, who does?
My wife used to work for a really small Japanese whiskey, yeah.
Well, she needs to send some of that over here ASAP, okay? I got a ton of cigars, and I'm building my whiskey, my spirits profile. All right, so give me State Ranch. Who is he? Give me the player.
So this is right in Yountville. So there's a state lane in Yountville, and State Ranch is kind of what we've called it. This is a staple for Nickel for I've seen it dating back to like 2010 and maybe even younger. So we've had it for about 10 years. It's in the heart of Yountville, and I really like kind of having different AVAs for Nickel to show like I was telling you, like what each AVA is trying to their own vineyard in Yountville. And I think for me, it's a distinct site because it wants to be big and broad and dense, and that's kind of where it fits in our portfolio.
So give me the NBA player. Who is State Ranch?
That's a good question. I'd probably say Shaq. Kind of big
Shaq.
Very successful and has his own, you know, niche in the NBA and is all time. But for me, it's big, it's muscular, it's kind of like it's got some power behind it, and I always think of Shaq when I think of that.
Well, you said big and sexy, so I guess big sexy is Shaq. He did call himself big sexy, the Aristotle Superman. No, this is awesome, man. Very, very cool. So what's next? Oh yeah, what I want to say is, and you just don't do the cabs there.
I do it all.
Yeah. You do it all, right?
Me having a maker and then a 6-man cellar team, we do it all together. Team aspect for sure. It keeps a lot. Keeping all these vineyards separate in the winery, it's a chess match for harvest and for aging. So yeah, it takes a team, but yeah, we got a good team at Nickel.
So what's next? I know you're taking a break right now, right? You're chilling.
Yeah.
So what is next?
Man, just for me, I think it's going to take. I just finished my 3rd year at Nickel. I think it's going to take another couple of years to really figure out each site and really understand the viticulture side behind it, understand the soil type, kind of, you know, continue to improve each vineyard each year in the cellar. Yeah, man, I've got some fun stuff brewing with a couple guys that are athletes, and just trying to keep getting more people involved in the wine game. That for me, like, I was really excited when you and I linked for this, because I think the more people we get out here, you know, is great for everybody. And so being an athlete, trying to get my athlete buddies out here and hosting them and teach them about wine and having them pop corks, for me is been like really fun. I've had a couple like Clay Thompson, Nolan Arenado. They're really interested in the wine game.
I know, name drop, Joe, name drop. Let people know, okay?
With them, just trying to get more people tasting and opening wine, because for me that's that's what it's all about. You know, I love people like you who are passionate about this and going about it the right way. And so, for me, it's been fun. You know, we've got some really cool people out at Nickel, and just getting people opening up more wine. That's the goal.
Well, what we need to do, and that is actually something I do already, I do events and stuff like that. We need to get a group of guys to Nickel, document it. I'll call up Baxter at ESPN, whatever, and we can document just a trip at Nickel and Nickel, an athlete trip at Nickel and Nickel. I think that would be super rad, you know, to do that.
That'd be awesome. I would love that. I would love that. It'd be fun to keep the conversation going, man. Opening up wine. That's what it's all about. So, yeah, that would be great.
So also, you know, I'm not trying to end it. We don't need to. But where can they get these wines?
That's a good question. I think on our website. I know that we're doing a bunch of stuff through our wine club. We got a really big wine club for Nickel. Man, I just make it. I should know that. I don't sell any of it, but I think our website, and I think we'll probably provide a link for you and the listeners to.
Yeah, I think Aaron gave me one. I think it's in my email, so I'll provide that link in my story for them to go get it. Or I'll put it in my link tree, and they can just do it there.
Cool. Yeah, I think online. Once COVID kind of ends, I think we're still kind of open, trying to figure it all out with COVID. But I'd say of all the Napa Valley experiences, man, Nichols, we've got a great hospitality team, and we've got, like I said, 20 single vineyard wine. That if you're really trying to learn more about wine and learn more about like Napa Valley, there's no other place that you can kind of sit down and taste, you know, all these AVAs by themselves and kind of take a walk through Napa. So I think getting to Nickel and tasting some wines, and I think that's the best way to get your hands on them.
No, that's so rad, man. And I just want to say, like, this is super cool. You know, I'm really big on just obviously athletes supporting athletes because, you know, I think we're both in unique spaces where, okay, you kind of saw the writing, but you already had a backup plan. You already knew what you were going to do afterwards. In my case, you know, right, I had the luxury of playing longer. I played 12 years, but, you know, the hardest transition is, okay, what am I going to do next? You know, and especially for pro athletes, part two has to be something that you're passionate about. It has to be, you know, and because you're playing your sport because you're passionate about it, right? You literally have to give everything into it. You have to deal with the good days. You have to deal with the awful days and still be able to show up and still love it. You know, I almost look at it like a marriage, right? Is my wife, we get into beefs and guess what? We still got to lay down together and go to bed and make up. You know what I'm saying? And for me, when I left the NFL, it was like, sure, I can go coach. Sure, I can be in the front office, do management and all that stuff. But it's like, what do I really, really want to do? And for me, it was this wine thing. So I know there's tons of passionate people out there. And I just love the fact that you're such a servant leader in the wine world, in life, man. And the fact that, you know, we are doing this because this is huge. This is just going to impact and inspire more people. You know, I just got approved through the NFL. They have a scholarship program to start taking classes at UC Davis because I want to learn more about winemaking and viticulture. You know what I'm saying? So I'm actually in Sonoma State Business School right now in their wine program.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I actually have my project is due tomorrow, and that's how it was, man. But
I think that's awesome, man. I applaud you for finding what's next and digging in and, you know, doing what you're doing, man. I think it's great for everybody, and I got a lot of respect for what you're doing. And speaking of which, man, if you ever I'm always looking for guys that come shadow me for a day during harvest or come taste barrel. Like if you ever yourself or anybody ever wants to come and experience like what winemaking is.
No, I'm down. So here's what people don't know. People don't know this about me, right? So when I was in Washington during the off season, I told some people about it. So it's called OTAs, right? Off season team activities. They should just call it practice. That's so dumb. Anyhow, we would finish practice around 11 o'clock. And so what I would do is I would go change. I would put on my boots and like pretty much a farmer suit. And I would drive to Leesburg, Virginia, because that's where all the wineries were in Virginia. And I would work on the vineyard after practice.
No way.
Yes. So I went to Fabioli Cellars, and I actually had to. It was April, so we were planting some stuff still, So I like did planted some Chamberchin and stuff like that, and it was cool to drive around. And it was Doug Fabiola. He actually went to UC Davis, and I think he started at Buena Vista, which is the oldest winery in Napa. And so yeah, I literally would leave practice, and it was funny because I remember I went there and visited him one day, and this is when I thought I was cool. I had a Maserati, so I drove to the vineyard, and I was like, "Damn, look at all this effing gravel, like messing up my car." And so he hit me up. He's like, yeah, why don't you come back tomorrow and you can work on the vineyard? I'll show you some things. And I was like, all right, I'll think about it. And so I remember the next day happened and it was downpour raining. And I'm thinking like, there's no way I'm driving my car through this mud. And I was like, you know what? He's a winemaker. He knows it's going to rain tomorrow. He didn't tell me, right? So I think it was a test. So sure enough, I took my Maserati, and I drove through that mud and parked there. And I showed up like with my boots, like, "What's up, bro?" And he didn't say anything. I think he was impressed. But after that, he's been like one of my mentors, till now. I can call him for anything, and he just heightened my thing. So no, I would definitely love to come out there. Whenever you get back to work, I'm down to just learn all that stuff because I do want to have my own wine one day.
Yeah, man. Anytime. Doors always open at Nickel.
Well, hey, I appreciate you, man. Let me let you get back to your fam and enjoy your time. This is awesome. We definitely got to do this again. Actually, you know what I promised? I forgot people. I told people to ask a question. So I got a couple right here. So this one is for you, sir. How does your winemaking style for Nickel Nickel different from Darius, the previous winemaker?
Oh, good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, how are you different, huh?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for her. What she built, she kind of founded Nickel and was there until she retired in 2018. So for me, it's just kind of taking her style and her approach and kind of trying to, put my twist on it, whether that's, extended time on skins or, I don't know how technical we want to get, but like I'm a fan of like being in the vineyard a lot. That for me is where my passion is and trying to learn as much as I can about the vineyard side of things, because at the end of the day, like the quality of our grapes are what set us apart. So I'm just trying to really figure out each site and spend as much time in the vineyard as I can. And then, work with the team to make the best wines. And I think that was always her goal too. And just trying to carry on her legacy, because I think she did a great job and built a great brand. And I'm a big fan. So I wouldn't say anything too drastically different, maybe a little bit of fine touches here and there.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
It's like anything. I do a lot of like mentorship and help guys with their businesses, wherever they're doing. Also, and I'm like, it's super hard to like reinvent the wheel, right? You're not gonna rip everything out and just plant some, Joe's grapes. It's like, yeah, there's a formula, but there's a way to put your own spin on it, put your profile on it too. So that's what I see with you. One more question and then let you skedaddle. All right, Kristen, how does someone who is new to wine but very interested get their feet wet? I recently moved to San Fran. Well, if you move to San Fran, look no further. You can just go anywhere you want. We both can jump on this question. I think the best way, especially right now while you're home, I just finished my level 3 W set from Napa Valley Wine Academy. I think that's like the best way if you're just trying to get like the general knowledge is to jump on and take those courses. Also, I would get familiar with a local wine shop. When I was in Virginia, again, when I lived in Ashburn playing for Washington, I would go to Ashburn Wine Shop, and the guy, I went there so much, we developed a cool friendship. And so he actually started letting me sit down when the distributors would come in, and I got to sit there and taste all the wine. So I think going to Napa Wine Academy and take one of those certifications just to have a general knowledge, but also get familiar with your local wine shops and just keep going there. Because I knew varietals, and if I had a weakness, it was brands, so to go to this wine shop was more so varietal. So
I agree. I think I always tell people pop corks, man. Try and search, go to your wine shop, tell them what you like. Or
right, just buy wines. Yeah.
My skill set is making wine in Napa Valley. I go to my wine shop and I find myself buying imported wines from Austria, and having that guy teach me a little bit about other regions. And so I think just like popping corks and researching and tasting with friends. I know it's hard with COVID, but I've had some of the best experiences just making or buying some wines and open up with friends and just chatting about all things, whether it's the wine or the label or whatever it is. There's
Right.
so much about wine that brings people together and celebrate. And for me, it's get to your local wine shop. WSET is a great, you nailed on the head. That's a great way to get your feet wet as well. And if you want to go all in, come to Napa, come work harvest, go to Davis, do your thing. But I think really
Yeah. Just drink wine, man. Yeah.
learned it all by doing it. And that's, I learned the basics at school, but I learned so much more by pulling hoses. That would be my recommendation is you want to go full tilt on it.
Right. It's like when someone's like, "Hey, man, like, what do I need? I need to start losing weight." It's like, run.
Yeah, for sure.
You gotta move. But listen, Joe, thank you again, man. We are gonna do this again. I'm not gonna say we need to. No, we will do this again, and I'll make sure Erin is on you about doing something.
Cool.
Whatever other wines, I would love to we can whenever I want, show everyone your catalog. Be super cool, man. This is awesome. Thank you again for doing this, man. And I can't wait to, have more opportunities to, share wine with you and definitely just educate the masses, man. This is awesome.
Cheers, man. I appreciate you.
All right, buddy.
All right, be well. Later.
Boom. Joe, holding it down. Hey, I'll be back. Do not move. I'll be back.